The city of Denver is offering a stark warning to newly arriving migrants. Stay here and you will suffer. Denver's offering migrants help to move on to anywhere else in the country. Tonight, for the first time, we're able to see how Denver tries to convince migrants to leave in video obtained by Next from inside a migrant shelter.
The opportunities are over. That's Andres Carrera, political director for Denver Mayor Mike Johnston.
Nueva York te da más, Chicago te da más. Entonces sugiero que vaya por allá, donde hasta también con un albergue de más largo plazo, también hay más oportunidades de trabajo por allá.
Carrera is Denver's so-called newcomer communications liaison. That means that he meets the busloads of new arrivals. The city says this group got here on March 26, sent up by Texas's Republican Governor Greg Abbott. He warns them the jobs, the resources, the opportunities have already gone to the 40,000 migrants who came to Denver before them.
Hemos recibido demasiados migrantes y por eso se acabaron los recursos. Mira, no te vamos a bloquear. Si quieres permanecer aquí, no estoy aquí para bloquearte, estoy aquí para avisarte que tu camino no ha terminado. Si permanecen aquí, vas a sufrir hasta más, y eso no lo quiero ver.
Parents listen quietly as children play on the floor. As Denver tells these families that have sometimes walked from one continent to another that they just have to keep moving. But they don't have to walk. Denver will buy them a bus ticket.
Tu camino no ha terminado. Tu camino no ha terminado. Que viajas un tantito más. No tienes que caminar por ningún parte. Podemos comprarte boleto gratuito. Puedes ir a cualquier ciudad. Hasta la frontera de Canadá te llevamos. A donde sea.
The city says it won't buy bus tickets to Canada, but it will help migrants get to American border cities up north. It's a desperate pitch by Denver, a city that has taken in more migrants per capita than any city outside the southern border and is looking at $120 million in budget cuts to pay for migrant services. The moment of truth. Who in the crowd wants to go to a different city? And who wants to stay in Denver? Todos, a migrant says. Everyone.
The clock is now ticking for the migrants who arrived on that bus. Families have 6 weeks in Denver shelters and then they must go. Individuals get 14 days in shelter. As they were warned, after that, there may not be resources to help them. Where the city's support for migrants ends, nonprofit partners and churches step in. But there are new signs that even that assistance is reaching its limits.
The congregation, from the earliest onset, we said, let's give this a try till the end of March and see how it goes. We feel like it's a good season to close. Yes, the weather can be a little volatile out here, but we've done the best that we can.
Denver Friends Church, northwest side of the city, began opening its doors to dozens of migrants a night back in January. Volunteers ran an overnight shelter in their gym. They're winding that down this weekend. Pastor Keith Reeser says they are low on volunteers these days. The church tried to find migrants new communities somewhere in Kansas, places with lots of Spanish speakers and available work, but that idea fell through.
It's amazing to me how fast things can fall apart when you've worked for weeks to set something up and just a few bad conversations and things can pivot on you in a whole different direction. So I find myself chasing and trying to help them really, really well to get established in this new community. And then that fell apart. And so then it's, okay, now we have to switch back into emergency mode. We have a family of 6 with 4 little children. So we don't want them on the street. We don't want them in a tent. So what's our next option?
At the last minute, Denver Friends Church found another church that will provide overnight shelter for a while. Denver Community Church is committed to take in all of the 29 migrants relying on the overnight shelter for the next 3 weeks. In November, Coloradans will decide if people accused of first-degree murder should be held without bond. And if you're thinking, isn't that like a decision for, I don't know, a judge or maybe a state legislature? Well, yeah, but this is Colorado, where citizen-led efforts change the state constitution all the time over all kinds of issues. Our Kelly Rinke looks at how the state Supreme Court opened up bail to every suspect and how Coloradans could change that.
We need the Constitution to conform with what we want it to be.
This week, state lawmakers passed a resolution to fix another bill's unintended consequence.
When the death penalty was abolished, we were left with a situation where no first-degree murder was a capital offense.
Last year, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled that now that the death penalty is gone, the state constitution gives everyone the right to a bond.
The district attorneys, all 22 of them, decided that this was the priority measure.
Jessica Daughter advocates for policy on behalf of district attorneys across the state. They supported this measure so people accused of first-degree murder could be held without bond. Lawmakers said yes, and now Coloradans will vote on it in November.
When you're accused of first-degree murder, you shouldn't be able to make bail no matter how much access to funds you have, just because of the degree of community safety that comes with that sort of a crime.
Since the Supreme Court ruling, judges have set sky-high bonds, but some defendants have been able to pay them. A man in Aurora accused of killing a teenager paid $500,000 to get out of jail. In Denver, a woman accused of shooting a 16-year-old paid a $200,000 cash or surety bond. In that case, prosecutors have requested $5 million cash only.
Right. Suddenly, it became like any other case where the judge had discretion to determine what sort of bond to set.
District attorneys and lawmakers think this crime should be treated differently.
For safety reasons, to uphold victims' rights.
But now it's up to voters to make it official. More than 500 murder cases have been impacted by the Supreme Court ruling. A person can be held without bond if the measure gets 55% of the vote.
The astronomically high bonds that are being set by judges are essentially no bond at all. So, so what do defense attorneys think about a different approach?
They like this measure because it will allow for a hearing for a judge to see, is there enough evidence to actually hold someone without a bond? So now they'll have an opportunity, if this passes, to kind of make that argument, whereas if right now their clients can't pay it, they're kind of stuck. End
of story. Kelly Rinke, thank you. Want you to meet the man who is almost certain to be Colorado's next congressman. This is Greg Lopez, picked by a Republican committee last night to fill the last 6 months of former Congressman Ken Buck's term. They'll be representing Dougco, Loveland, and the Eastern Plains. Lopez will be the overwhelming favorite in June's special election in the safest Republican seat in Colorado. So, who is Greg Lopez? Well, 3 decades ago, he was mayor of Parker. More recently, he unsuccessfully ran for governor twice, and he took positions that put him on the far right of the Republican Party. We sat down when he ran for governor in 2022.
Republican congressional nominee Greg Lopez prides himself on his pro-life credentials. He opposes abortion in all cases, even to save the life of the mother. But in 1993, he was arrested for violently assaulting his then pregnant wife. Some people might see those two things at odds, but they both involve you exerting control over a woman's body. Is that what Coloradans want from their governor?
Well, first of all, it wasn't a violent situation. If you if you go back and
you were arrested for assault.
We were both arrested for assault, both of us.
And one of you was pregnant. So again, the question is, do Coloradans want somebody who has a history both in word and in physical action of controlling the bodies of women?
Here's the thing. There's only been one perfect man that's ever walked this earth, and we nailed him to the cross. I'm not a perfect man. I've made my mistakes, but I've learned from them.
Lopez wants to ban mail-in voting, but he has voted exclusively by mail ever since it was allowed. Why do you vote by mail, but you want everybody to stand in line?
No. You're not listening to what I'm saying. I've done both, okay? I believe standing in line is more appropriate.
After leading the Federal Small Business Administration in Colorado, Lopez paid a settlement over allegations he broke the law by trying to influence that agency. Yet Lopez has made government waste, fraud, and abuse a focus of his campaigns. In 2022, I asked him about the impact of his plan to slash funding for schools by almost a third. How does cutting their budget through lowering sales tax intake provide a better result in the end?
By allowing them to be creative, the teachers.
Lopez has also proposed doing away with the principle of one person, one vote in state elections, suggesting a system that would have weighted rural votes, turning blowout Republican losses into runaway Republican wins.
It's not about one person, one vote. It's about true representation.
Any given week in our community, there are trucks and trailers that roll up to community centers and to shelters across the metro area, offering some of the simplest necessities of life: a hot shower, access to laundry. The nonprofit that does this says that their program is so popular, they can't keep up with requests to add new stops. So they want to add another truck and trailer unit. This week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports Bayard Enterprises as it plans to add a third mobile laundry and shower unit to meet demand. The trucks run Denver to Lakewood to Westminster to Arvada to North Glen, and they're getting 5 to 10 requests a month to add more stops to their route. And it's because they offer the dignity that comes with having fresh, clean clothes and a shower, and all that those things bring. Think about it. Like the ability to go to a job interview, the ability to keep a job, to stay healthy. Bayard's goal is to raise $70,000 for this shower and laundry trailer. Since Wednesday, Next viewers have already raised $23,000. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to get that link to join me and a bunch of others in donating. And more than 2,000 of you have signed up to simplify your giving with a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. And that meant an extra $15,000 boost for every nonprofit we talked about last month. Put in your info once, it splits up your donation. Use the same QR code or text to get there.
Writings on the wall that I don't think they think long-term they can just continue.
Anybody want to buy Denver's best-known bookstore? Tattered Cover announces mid-bankruptcy, it's for sale. And our favorite way to end the week, so we set aside the news and ask some of our neighbors about what is good in their lives. We'll ask these folks next. An iconic but pretty troubled bookstore chain is now up for sale. The owners of Tattered Cover are asking a court to delay their next bankruptcy hearing so that they can respond to potential buyers. The Tattered Cover filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy last October, quickly closed 3 stores, laid off some staff. The plan was reorganization, but now Tattered Cover says the plan is to find a buyer for some or all of its assets. The company says they already have interest and they expect more. The owners of Tattered Cover told the court in a filing that a $1.2 million loan has helped to keep the business afloat since October, but the store recently found out that that lender wants the money repaid. They do not want equity in Tattered Cover. A bankruptcy attorney told us that that switch up and this new willingness to sell Tattered Cover suggests that the lender and the company think that they might not be able to keep it afloat much longer.
We can read between the lines and maybe assume that some of the financial projections that maybe they based that initial plan on didn't bear fruition. I think realistically, the writing's on the wall that I don't think they think long-term they can just continue, even with the infusion of cash, that they're better off in totality selling.
Tattered Cover is asking the court to give it until at least June 17th to work with those potential buyers. State legislators have killed a long-shot proposal that would have phased out all new gas and oil operations in Colorado by the end of the decade. This is the issue that you've been seeing oil and gas industry commercials about. We previously told you this wasn't going to pass. 2 Democrats joined with their Republican colleagues to vote down that Democrat-backed bill to overhaul the permitting process for new oil and gas and to implement stricter rules around cleaning up abandoned wells. The most controversial part of it would have required the state to stop issuing new drilling permits by 2030. The bill's sponsors were even willing to drop that specific part of the proposal, but it failed anyway.
A beautiful start to the day with lots of sunshine, but clouds are rolling into the metro area tonight ahead of a weak weather disturbance that will bring another round of mountain snow. Winter weather and travel advisories are posted for the mountains. For Denver, a brief shower and then skies clear ahead of a warm Easter forecast. Temperatures today in the 40s and 50s along the Front Range with some 70s on the map in southeastern Colorado. The winds are starting to ramp up over some of the higher passes as this little shortwave or weather disturbance crosses the northern mountains. And that's really the bullseye area for the heavier snow tonight. A stray rain shower tracking from the southwest to the northeast tonight, but accumulating snow can be found in Steamboat, Eagle, Aspen, and Vail. That winter weather advisory continues through 6 o'clock tomorrow. Additional light accumulation tonight on top of the 6 to 8 inches you've already seen. In Denver, a stray shower early and then clearing. We get you into a sunny Saturday and Easter Sunday, but things start to change on Sunday night. If you're out and about tonight, a few sprinkles, so grab an umbrella. And your 7-day forecast includes the chance of rain Sunday night, mixing with snow on a chilly Monday. Off we go with a warming trend. The first 70-degree reading of the season possible Thursday of next week.
A recommendation An in-depth conversation of some of the hottest topics that we touch here on Next.
Well, my good news is to deal with all the people here at the Senior Center.
Some good news has to wait longer than others. Recognition tonight for our Vietnam vets and what they are celebrating in their lives today. May I make a recommendation? Something that is not from our 9 News team, but I think you'll find it interesting. Check out the latest episode of the podcast CityCast Denver. That is a daily listen for me. Smart, thoughtful conversations about the city and the region. And this was the first time that I joined the hosts, Bree Davies and Paul Caroli. We went in depth on a number of issues, from security concerns at Denver's homeless hotel shelters to the collapse of Denver's minority entrepreneurship fund. There was a shout out for the return of Vine Street Pub, closed since the pandemic. And we delved into the suburban dog park that's battling owners who refuse to pick up after their pets. I love chatting with them as much as I love listening to them. You can find the full 45-minute conversation on Next social media channels or on the Next section of 9news.com. All right, let's end the week on a positive, as we always do. Today we headed up to Firestone for a long-awaited welcome home.
What so proudly we hailed.
Today is about honoring specifically Vietnam-era veterans.
Stripes and bright stars.
My good news is that me and many of my friends are still here in spite of being from Vietnam, and I'm very, very thankful for that, and thankful to the general population for finally accepting us military people in full condition.
My good news is that I got to participate in this wonderful veterans event today and be able to share my voice with them.
Welcome home. The good news is a whole room of people came together from a lot of different backgrounds, from a lot of different places, and what they had in common either was that they served in the military or they cared about somebody who served in the military. And in a time when there's so many reasons for us to be divided and divisive, to have a room full of people saying welcome home together at the same time, to have a room full of people who are sharing a meal, sharing dessert, and having that camaraderie instead of that divisiveness, it's fresh.
We hope your hearts are open today to the outpouring of love and respect, honor and gratitude. We hope you feel how much we care.
Welcome home.
The great value in saying something somebody clearly needed said. We're back with your feedback next. Making ski history. It's the most Colorado thing we saw today. This weekend, Ross Anderson, a speed skier from Durango, became the first Native American skier ever inducted into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. He paid tribute to his heritage during the ceremony, at one point holding an eagle feather high in the air at the end of his speech. When we spoke to him recently, he said that making the Hall of Fame was a win for his community and for skiers who look like him. Cindy writes in tonight to say, what is up with the professional look you are sporting these days? Cindy says that she's concerned that I'm looking for another job. She says, we miss the tacky jackets. I apologize, Cindy. I probably have been too professional on this program lately. Let's try and fix that next week. I'll see you next time.